Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Welcome to this the Friday special podcast. Alhamdulillah, Shaykh Kabba Bah, how are you today?
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته مغفرة والحمد لله على كل حال.
Jazakallah khairan, ya Shaykh, for joining us today. Unfortunately, brother Shaykh Hatim is away and brother Muhammad is still away. And so, Shaykh, khairan, inshallah, we'll do a very easy podcast today. I've got a few clips that I wanted to discuss with you, and it's actually a clip from one of our brother in the UK, brother Dawah Man. And the reason for being is something that we can learn from the clips as well, and then we will explain that a little bit more. Of course, Shaykh, with your input, inshallah. I think it will be a good discussion between us, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Bismillah. So I'll start with the first clip, and I will give you the what do you call it? The reason for the clip, inshallah. Bismillah.
Yeah.
And obviously, I was having issues at home. And the reason I was having issues at home is because I wanted to do this da'wah, I wanted to do this khair, but at the same time, trying to balance it with spending time with my wife. And obviously, there were issues above and beyond that because both of us, me and my wife, were just new to this marriage thing and we didn't really understand and we were ignorant, both jahil, right? And this brother says, may Allah bless him and preserve him, but what he said to me at the time was, your wife, she has no right to demand time from you. So I was like mind blown. I was like, what? Because I mean, at the time I used to listen to the Flower Dawah guys, right? I was like, that's all I know. Like, you have to give your wife time, right? Like Mufti Menk, he speaks about if your wife tells you move, if you're in a different country, you move, which obviously is stretching it to a different extreme. But that's what we grew up on, right? That's what we had.
And even like, for example, myself, you mentioned that you grew up looking at your parents. And me, I grew up in a single parent household. So I even less so had it. For me, it was mostly what you see online, like Hollywood and happily ever after and husband and the wife. Like, so sometimes that can also be.
And the guys. And
So, Shaykh, you heard the clip just now?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So the background of the clip is the brother started, he was doing a lot of da'wah, so he enjoys it because we know that's a lot of rewards for doing da'wah at the same time. And he said he was new to marriage, right? He was new to marriage, and he found it very difficult, doing da'wah, doing work full time at the same time, and then you have your wife with you. So, unfortunately, he went to a brother and asked a question about, because the wife is requesting him to spend time with him, and so he go and then seek advice from a brother who he trusts, and maybe someone that's knowledgeable and that he thinks is knowledgeable, and he went to go and ask. He said, "Look, my wife is this, and I wanted to do this," and then he said, "No, you shouldn't be. Your wife has no rights to ask you anything. You can do whatever you want, really." And he thought it was a bit funny, but because he trusts that person, because he respect the brother, so he took the advice. Now, and I think this is very important for us because sometimes we are seeking advice, we're asking questions, but who do we ask? That person might be someone who have knowledge, might be someone of a high stature in the community, but may not have the full understanding of the issue that you ask. So, Shaykh, that was the point that we will discuss, inshallah.
طيب. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وبعد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Wherever you are, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you and your families and loved ones all are well and safe. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the understanding of the Quran and the authentic Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the ability to apply them and practice them in our daily lives. Ameen. This topic is essential in everyone's life today, be it married or non-married, be it young or be it old. You see, the problems of people face today in terms of marriage issues and what goes with it with problems is that the majority Some, Afwan, sorry, I take that back, not the majority. Some go to it with their emotions. And emotion is always built on a feelings. And whenever we make a decision based on the feelings, we might end up failing. Before one gets married, one have to first read, research about marriage, knowing your responsibilities before your rights. Because if one fulfills their responsibilities, inshallah, they will receive their rights accordingly. This is one. Secondly, is that when we are seeking advice in any matter relating to this deen in particular, not only to this deen, when we are seeking advice, we need to go to the professional. And if I have got a headache, I will not be going to the engineer or to anyone who have got a profession that is not related to health issues or to health matters. If that is the case with the worldly thing, with the deen things comes more important. In relation to the deen, whenever we go to someone, first let's try and choose the best. The best who are the followers of the Quran and the Sunnah. Sadly, today you'll find all, even the Firaq al-Dalla, the groups that have gone astray, you'll find them claiming they're following the Quran and Sunnah. And yet they interpret or misinterpret verses from the Quran, or they use a weak hadith, or they misinterpret a hadith. That is why it is very important to choose the scholar you go to. And whenever you go to a scholar, ask humbly what is the evidence of his ruling or his advice he's giving you. If it is from the Quran and Sunnah and it is interpreted accordingly, then we say Sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey. And if he says this is hadith, we say, okay, who narrated it? Tell me the authenticity of the hadith. If the hadith is authentic, we hear and we obey. If it is not, we leave it. Let's remember Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, Amin. He once said that كل يؤخذ من قول كل يؤخذ بقوله ويرد إلى صاحب هذا القبر. Everyone's advice, everyone's opinion can be taken and can be left out, meaning that not be taken, with the exception of the person buried here, and he pointed to the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Based on that, one need to be humble and ask and say, what is the evidence? And look for it. Because if I'm traveling, for example, to Sierra Leone next week, for example, I go to the airport. I know if I go to the railway station or to the bus stop, I will not go. So seeking advice from pious and righteous people is the best, so that, yes, even if there's a mistake, they can be corrected. And people who make mistake and say, I'm very sorry, my advice was wrong, this is the correct one. Let's remember, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was once asked about the portion of the inheritance of a grandmother. He said he doesn't know. And they asked him, they said, you lived with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and you migrated with him. He said, I don't know. He said, on what earth I will stand and on the which sky I will stand to give a ruling in this deen in a matter that I don't know. And this is to remind us what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran. Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Do not say anything in any matters without knowledge. The knowledge here is the knowledge of the Deen al-Islam, of the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. So Allah is telling us, is warning us not to do so, because at the end of the day, we'll be asked about our actions, what we did and what we said. We'll be asked of on all that. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah khairan, Shah. I think that's very important there, that you don't just go and get advice from anyone, right? And like what you say, that the brother could have maybe avoided the mistake if he were to ask what were the evidence of this advice. But unfortunately, sometimes we trust someone maybe because they appear they're good, and that person may actually have no, what do I say, malice, any bad intention, but he he tried to give advice of something that he doesn't know, and that's sometimes hard. And I think this is something for us Muslims. You don't say something to a brother or a sister, or give any advice if you yourself don't know, whether that advice is good or not. So if not, you might actually, like this brother, would have destroyed his marriage, would have actually affected his marriage because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you were to ask, what are the evidences? Any an example of the sunnah, and the way how the prophet left his wife when he go and then do whatever he want to do? Because hey, look, we talk about dawah, and then the good work that we do. It's important, but the best person who have done the most good work, that is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if he do most of the good work, then we gotta go and learn from him, because he has wife, he have children, and he show us, he give a good example how to look after them. So yeah, I think that's good. And I think there was a comment that I mentioned about, please get advice. Be careful getting advice from YouTube videos or so-called influencers. I think you do also need to have a responsibility to double check, triple check the source and the evidences around that. Inshallah.
Absolutely, because marriage life is not that easy, and it is not like this jacket. I put it on today, and then tomorrow I change it and put something else, or put it on now, and then 1 hour later, going somewhere else. I want to put on something else. One need to do their homework thoroughly, and
Yeah.
those people who are asked about anything relating to the deen, relating to the deen. If you get it wrong, be humble and immediately contact that brother or that sister and say, look, I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong answer, or I was wrong in my advice. Apologize.
Mm, mm, mm. And I actually brought one more point here that we can talk about is, share.
Yeah.
Some people, they wanted to do good works, like dawah, for example, or charity, whatever they want to do. And sometimes these works require to maybe some time away from the family, whether you like it or not. Now, if the family are start getting affected by this, let's say, for example, the wife approach and say, look, it's getting a bit difficult now, you're always away. So the good work that we do, which one is more important, Shah? Is it the dawah, leaving the house, home for 2 3 months, or would that be better? Or to actually go back and just be with the family initially and get things right again, and then you continue, because this is very important. Because sometimes, you go to the extreme, you think this is the good work, but is looking after a family part of the good work that we have to do or not?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Doing da'wah is very important because we know it is the occupation of the prophet and the messengers.
So,
The person who is doing da'wah, if he or she is sincere, then they will be getting the reward of the prophets and the messengers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all among those. Ameen.
I mean,
Now, we need to balance our lives. We need to balance it. In fact, today, a person is able to make da'wah from home. A person is able to make da'wah without going out, without leaving the families. However, if that becomes the case, one is staying away for so long, and that is bringing problems. We know stories where people have gone engaged in da'wah And by the time they came back, the wife is with someone else, or the children are not home. This is not the right form of the da'wah, the way Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam
So, so.
did it, and it is not the way he and his sahabas and his companions taught us. Remember, there was during the time of Umar, he was doing a security check. He was on patrol at night, and he heard a woman complaining about her husband being away for long. And Umar marked that place, and he went, and the following day, and he sent, I think, his wife, and she went and investigated. He recalled the military. They were in jihad. He recalled them. So, yes, dawah is very important. Family is very important. One thing I have learned is that I always say this, and sometimes when I say it, I laugh about it. But honestly, it is the it is the truth. Happy life, no wife, no life. And if wife is not happy, the husband will not have a happy life in that house. So it is balancing it and prioritizing, giving, and always reflecting. Because when we reflect, we tend to change how we do things, we learn from our mistake, and we enhance ourselves with more skills and strategies of making family home united and in peace and tranquility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. So we'll go to the second clip.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheikh, can you hear that just now? Hello, Sheikh. Assalamualaikum, Sheikh. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you, Sheikh. I can't hear you. I think your microphone come off just now. Sorry, brothers. I'll just fix this again.
No, no, no.
Uh,
The mic is on.
the mic is on. Okay, I can't hear you just now. So I'll try it again.
Doing
Yeah,
this, you're
yeah.
doing that.
Can you
So
hear
I
that?
went back to my wife and I said to her, listen, I
No,
said, I'm
no.
going to be seeking knowledge now. And the schedule that I had was one where I could only study at night.
Yeah, I can hear me.
And during the daytime, I had to work.
Yeah.
So I said, for the next 6 months, don't consider me your husband. I actually said that to her.
Wow.
And I said it in quite a savage way.
Wow.
I said it in quite a heartless way. I said it in a way where you don't really have a say in this. Next 6 months, whether you like it or not. So before I went, I suddenly switched from being so kind.
And in your mind, this wasn't a violation.
It wasn't a violation. It was I'm taking my right.
I'm taking my right.
I was like, I've been trying to give you your rights. I'm really trying to make you happy. Things don't seem to be working out from both. I'm not going the extra mile now. I want to seek knowledge. So she, may Allah bless her, looked at me and said, okay, I can see this is important to you. Seek your knowledge. No worries. 6 months went by, and then it was a year. Then it was 2 years. And then it was doing this, you're doing that. So I went back to my wife and I said to her,
Okay. Did you hear the whole thing, Sheikh?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So yeah, the brother basically, after getting the wrong advice there, and he decided, look, it's my right to basically not to spend time with you. I don't have to spend time with you. I just need to do what I need to do. So he was very harsh on his wife, but subhanallah, the wife is very patient. So, and that's something that, yeah, it's not easy to do. But the wife was very patient and was accommodating, and that's something sometimes we need to reflect upon. When something doesn't go the way how we want, it's so easy to get all angry and divorce straight away, or this and that. And sometimes we do have to be a bit more patient to actually be successful in our marriage. So the sister here in this situation, despite the brother, he made a mistake. We know, as we discussed before, he made a huge mistake because someone gave him a wrong advice. And now, but the sister was so patient, which in the end saved the marriage.
You know, it is sad to see these things happenings because, as we said, it is very important to be seeking guidance from the right people. Because if we get it wrong, in this case, if this sister was impatient,
Mm,
then the marriage would have ended. So, again, I mean, her rights, she missed her rights, she missed the quality time with
mm,
him, and yet he was somewhere else. This is تقديم الفاضل تقديم الفاضل تقديم المفضول على الفاضل. His action was taking giving something priority that is have got in his situation less priority. He gave that more priority than what he should have given priority to. That is wrong. You know, issues like that, if it's happened repeatedly, it may lead to separations.
mm,
It may lead to separations. And sadly, this is happening a lot amongst our youth today, not just our youth, even some senior citizens. We see this is happening. One leaving the families and traveling and going either for dawah or going for any reason, going and staying more longer time. One need to understand that the if one is separated due to some circumstances out of everyone's control, one can understand that. But if it is one's control, one is able to amend this and they don't, the more they stay apart, the wider the gap becomes in between them, and the bigger the gaps become, the more shaitan and people start to interfere and talk about them and about their marriage, and then it breaks the relationship to a way that in is NR never return. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save our marriages and protect us.
Amen.
I mean,
Amen. There's a comment here, Share says, but some women are too clingy. I think brother said, they want the brother to be in the house all the time.
if
What's
you
your
have
take on that? I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to give it to you to ansher that. You have more experience than me.
we all are experienced, brother, mashallah. You know, if you have got a wife with that attitude, be lucky. Say afwan, say alhamdulillah, be thankful, be grateful. She's doing that because she loves you. There are wives, if the husband is in one room, they are in the other room. If the husband is about to come home, they get stressed. Why? Because they feel like when he's not home, I'm in peace, I'm enjoying life. And when he's home, it is the opposite. So if you have got a wife who is wanting you to be home, she is jealous because she loves you. She is jealous because she wants the marriage relationship to work. Let's remember, you know, if we study the lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see between him and his wives, Today, one person, a man is married to one, and they are not able to manage the relationship. What happens if they go into two, into three, into four? I'm not saying don't. What I'm saying is how you manage it and how you live with them.
Mhm.
That is very important. It is understanding that it is not just your right, but your obligations. Put your obligations first, fulfill that, and your right will come in, inshallah. Wallahu alam. Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh. Yeah, but patience is very hard sometimes. But we have to be patient because life is all about give and take. Brother Muhammad mentioned this many times in the past. He said, you have to, give and take. Sometimes, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. It's not always one way. Because if you do one way, that's when the problem starts. Now, there's another video here. So it's third video, the third clip actually. Bismillah.
And I started to study the life of the Prophet,
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
the angle of how he treated people around him. I was mind blown the way the Prophet treated his wives. That brother asked him many years ago, "What's your dalil?" The dalil is the Prophet
Sallallahu
every morning would pray Fajr. He would wait until the sunrise, and then he would go to every single one of his wives. The sun is risen, he's done his dhikr, he's now going to his wives.
The first thing.
First thing. He'd sit with his companions till sunrise, he'd go to his wife, say, Assalamu alaikum to them all, and he would make dua for them. Every wife, he started off his day like that.
Wow.
Then he would go, and he would do his things, and he's doing a bunch of stuff, right? He's dealing with the affairs of the Muslims, judging between the people. When the Asr time would kick in, and by the way, he had 9 wives at one time. At 11 would come at 9 at one particular time. After Asr, he would, and I started to study the life of the Prophet.
So this is also very important. I think we kind of mentioned it earlier.
Yep.
You have to learn the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alayhi
We
wa
say
sallam.
we're Muslim, we're Muslim, we're Muslim, we are Muslim. We know we believe in Allah. We follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you've never picked up a biography and read a book about our beloved Prophet Muhammad, you don't
Sallallahu alayhi
understand what he does, what he did. You don't understand what he did, how he dealt with his wife, with his family, with his the people, with his companions. Then how do you gonna get a good example from? And where do you get the good example from?
Our problems today is that I want to become like Umar overnight without reading the biography of Umar. I want to do da'wah like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and have not read his history.
Hmm.
We know during the time of Umar, the people of Iraq, they complained about the governor of Iraq. They said, look, he doesn't come to respond to our needs. And when he comes in the morning, he comes late. And Umar wrote to him. He said, in a simple language, to explain what is happening. He said to Umar, he wrote back to Umar, and he said, look, in the morning after Fajr, I have got one piece of cloth. If it is dirty, I will wash it and keep it to dry. And then I'll feed my families. And then I come out after the Zawal. This is my time and my family's time. And when night comes, after Isha, that is my family time. So Umar did not reprimand him. He did not censor him. What he did, he praised him. He sent him money from the Baitul Mal. He said, buy more clothes for yourself. These are the character of the companions. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam already told us. He said, "Khairul quruni qarni summa alladhina yalunhum summa alladhina yalunhum." He said the best generation is my generation, and the one after that, and the one after that.
Mm.
And we are making life ourselves harder. And in fact, some of us are sinning by leaving the families in a way they leave them to go for da'wah or to go for anything that is, because everything have got its own limit. There's a saying, when the cup is full, it cannot take it anymore. I know sisters who have said, if he doesn't change, I don't see this marriage working. I know brothers who have said, if she doesn't change, I do not see this marriage working. Why? Because each one of them have been so patient. Now it have come to a stage they cannot take it anymore. And let's remember the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The best one among you in manners, the best one among you are the best one in manners. The best one among you in manners are the one who are kind to their wives and to
Mm.
their families. So if we want to be among those, we need to go back to the Quran. We need to go back to the authentic Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and learn it and apply it in our daily lives as much as we can. Yes, we'll never be perfect like
Yes.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll never be perfect like the companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum. Ameen. But
Amen.
we can learn from it and imitate with them. And remember what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-mar'u ma'aman ahab. A person will be resurrected with those they love. If we love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we love his companions, we need to do what they did so that with the hope of Allah's mercy on us, we'll be resurrected with them on the day of judgment. Amen.
Amen. Go to the this clip here.
Yep, yep.
After Asr, he would then spend that time with what? Visiting every single one of his wives daily. And then the wife whose night it was, he would end the night with her visit and then he would stay with her. That's mind blowing. Like when you look at the Prophet ﷺ and all the responsibilities that he was a statesman, he was a general of an army, he was a prophet of Allah, he was an educator, he was a teacher, he was a judge. He's doing everything. He was a neighbor. He was an uncle. He was a father. He was a grandfather. He was so many things, and at so many times revelations coming to him. Jibreel is coming to him. He's educating him. He's got the hypocrites inside to worry about. He's got all of the different tribes that are revolting on him. He's got the constant threat of the enemies. They're marching towards him. Sometimes weeks in advance that the enemy's coming towards you. Weeks in advance, but no, I'm still gonna go see my family.
I mean, no one's got an excuse.
After Asr,
So there was the continuity of the video. Prophet Muhammad SAW will go and visit all his wives first thing in the morning after he completed his fajr, after he finished his zikr, and in the evening, and then he will go about and do what he need to do, because our Prophet Muhammad SAW is not staying at home giving instructions, right? He's not staying in the office, in the big office with all the servants and secretaries that tell him do what he do. He actually someone is on the ground. He do what he's on the battlefield. He's there. He's everywhere. He do what he need to do. Like he goes to where he need to goes. So in the evening, he will again what he do before he go to bed. He will go and visit all his wife again, and then he will end it at the last one where the one that the turn of the wife of that night. So just think about it, the amount of time that he spent for the family, despite being a busy person. So I guess he could probably valid for him, Sheikh. I think if he were to give an excuse, he said, "Look, I'm a bit tired today, and I wouldn't do this." But no, he's not. Why? Because he's setting us a good example for all of us. Oh, sorry, Sheikh. Can you say that
Yeah,
again?
yeah.
Yeah.
I said absolutely. He have set a very good example for us based on the ayah of the ayah al-Qur'aniyya. وَلَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. hasana. For you, there's a good role model in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he was able to do this with his large family and able to do this, today some husbands, they are not able to fulfill the right of one wife. Subhan al-Khaliq al-Azim. You know, when Aisha radiallahu ta'ala was asked about the manners and the behavior of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said, "Kana khuluquhu al-Quran." His manner and his behavior was the Quran. Absolutely was the Quran. Today our problems is that we learn a little bit and we take ourselves and we put ourselves to a level that we are not. And sometimes some people take the dawah as if they are not there physically, then the deen will fall apart. No, it will not, and it will never. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have told us, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. We revealed the Quran and we will guide it. The Quran came with deen, and this deen will forever remain and will forever survive. With us or without us. For us, we cannot survive, we cannot achieve without the Islam. But without us, Islam still will spread, Islam still will survive. Because it has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise. That is why we see when a taqwa is mentioned, it comes to two categories. التقوى المتعلق بالقلب, fear of Allah that is attached to the heart. That is the iman and the faith have to be stable in the heart. And with it comes al-muta'alliq bil jawarih, that is attached and linked to the part of the body, that is for standing up, for making wudu, for offering salat. Either you standing or you laying down or you are sitting. This is al-amal bil jawarih. So part of that is fulfilling the right of others. And part of the fulfilling of the right of others is the right of the wives. Because we know a person asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is the right of one of us to his wife? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you feed her when you feed yourself, and you clothe her when you clothe yourself, and you do not call her ugly. And if you dislike her, if you dislike one single thing in her, like in her so many other good things, because she's not all bad. It's always looking at the positive rather than looking and concentrating on the negatives only. As we said before, always reflecting and going back, having open communication, open and honest communication, and compromising when it's come for the worldly things, and not compromising when it's come for the aqidah and for the deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam. Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh. So that's the part that we. I'll play another clip now, actually, with regards to 6.6. Bismillah.
Why is it that when it comes to marriage, we don't ask? Men don't ask. This makes me sick. Yeah, actually makes me sick because you're ignorant. You're jahil.
I think it
You're
comes.
actually a jahil.
I think it comes down to, and even me, I feel like I was afflicted with this at one point. I think it comes down to an insecurity of feeling like if I ask, it's almost as if I'm admitting that I don't know, and that is a weakness within me, or a weakness within my manhood, or a weakness within me as a husband. In fact, I even know brothers that stop their wife from seeking help because they know there's a problem in their marriage. They've accepted, yes, you know what, there's a problem. Then the wife says, you know what, let's ask for it. No, let's just try and figure it out ourselves. They'll try, maybe they'll make it work. Week or two, same problem comes again. Let's ask for help. No, let's keep it between us. And while generally speaking, yes, we agree. You don't just go to any fulan and, especially not your family, and that can cause that's a whole different
No, I
kind
wouldn't
of
say
worms.
especially not your family, but it depends on your family. Like if you know by
But generally,
That's a good point, Sheikh. I think brother brought up that sometimes we try not to ask, sometimes we hide, and we do know. We were hoping that it's gonna get fixed by not getting advice. And another problem is that those who go and get advice, when the advice was given, they don't take up on it. So if you can share with us a few experiences or a few advice with for us, inshallah.
The advice on that for myself and for everyone is, first of all, is to understand that marriage will never always be sweet always, and it will never always be sour always. It is a mixture of both. I'll describe it as the wave of the sea. Sometimes they are high, sometimes they are low. What tends people to be hiding things is that they want to cover it, they put it under the carpet because they are ashamed of it if it goes out. And sometimes some cultures, they tend to, it happened here, we solve it here. You know, once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came and he met his daughter Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. He saw her, he knew something was not right. He asked, he said, "What happened? Why are you upset?" She opened up and said to him, "I argued with Ali and he got upset and he left." Look at this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew where Ali will be. He went to the masjid and he found him there and he brought him home. We also know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wives, they demanded things that they know he could not afford. And Abu Bakr and Umar, they came and they wanted to discipline their daughters. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam in all occasions said to them, "Mali hadha da'unakum." I did not call you for this. We also know at one stage, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in his house and he was talking to the wives and they were talking and raising their voices. And as soon Umar came and said Assalamu alaikum, when they heard Umar, they went quiet and they took their hijab. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then gave permission to Umar to enter. When Umar entered, he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiling. He said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "May Allah make your teeth smile always, O Messenger of Allah." He then told him what has happened. Umar said, "Anta ahaqqu an yahabna ya Rasulullah." O Messenger of Allah, they should fear you more. They should respect you more. This happened, a lesson for us to learn from. This happened, a lesson for us to learn from. That is why it says that whenever Umar is in a valley, Iblis will be in another valley. Our problem is, you see, if I'm arguing with my wife, we are close to each other, but I'm raising my voice and she's raising hers. Why we are doing so? So I want to hear her, she want to hear me. The reason these voices are raised so high, because the hearts are gone apart at this time. But you'll find when people are together in peace and tranquility, when they talk slowly. In many occasions, by just she looks at you, you will know what she's asking for. When you look at her, she will know what you are asking for. It is just being humble in just taking the manners of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companion and fearing Allah as much as we can, and bearing in mind a man should treat their wives the way they would want their mothers, their aunties, their sisters, their daughters to be treated, and sisters also to treat their husbands the way they would want their fathers, their sons, their brothers, their uncles to be treated. Marriage is, as I always say, is a two-way street. People come from different sides and they meet in the middle. With it, there will be differences, but trying to solve it earlier is the best. Otherwise, it becomes like a sickness. When it gets chronic, it's very hard to treat. It takes time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Jazakallah khairan, Shah. That's a very good gems from you there. Subhanallah. And we got a few questions, a few points here on the comment. One is, uh, men always right. So that's why men sometimes don't follow instruction, which is which is true sometimes, and they don't get advice. But the thing is, we need to get advice. We need to seek help. We need to get some, opinion. Sometimes, Sheikh, one thing is when we are busy dealing with the issues, right? We have an issues. We have an issue with our wife, and then you try to fix it. It doesn't work. Why? Because your mind are stuck with it. So having another person that you trustworthy of, is another
Yeah.
trustworthy person to get involved to give you the right advice, that will work well, inshallah. Because you need just another view. Because sometimes when you're busy, you're dealing with things. You don't think about other things. You don't think about things. And the thing is, right? We tend to focus on, like you mentioned, Sheikh. There's little bad things happen, which happen, like you say, marriage like waves, right? Sometimes up, sometimes it's down. So something bad happened. Obviously, we're very upset, but we somehow forget the other 99% things good that happen around us, that
Absolutely.
happen in that marriage, right? So we completely forget 99%, and then we focus on that 1%. I say, hold on, brother, sister, just look in the big picture. Look at the whole time that you've been together for many many years. Yes, it's an issue at the moment. Let's try to fix it. Let's try to get someone else to help you and give the advice, and act upon that advice as well. If you don't act upon it, then it's pointless. It's pointless. It's not going to help you, because then you'll be doing the same thing over and over again. I think Albert Einstein have that definition. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Which if you keep doing the same thing, how are you gonna get different results? You're not gonna get different results. You're gonna get the same results, and that's a fact. There's one question here we probably should I should get you answer, Share. It's a serious question. If I see my brother doing something wrong in his marriage, I presume brother could be a brother, blood related or non-blood related, Muslim brother, another brother. Can I say something, or is that interfering? So we notice something is not quite right. The brother did not come and approach us to say something, to ask for our help, but we noticed something not quite right, and out of goodness, not because out of nosy, not because you just want to be busybody or whatnot, but you feel like, look, something is not right here, and should we ask, or do we wait until we get asked? You know, what would be the right approach here? Is there one answer?
The right approach with this scenario is, first of all, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable you to be the mediator to correct the brother. Remember the hadith, unsur akhaka zaliman aw mazluma. Help your brother in Islam or your sister in Islam. Either he is wrong or he is wronged. They said, if how can I help him if he is wrong? You stop him from doing it. In that, we remember the saying of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, if you advise me in public, you are humiliating me. If you advise me in private, you love me, you are giving me advice. Is pulling that brother aside. First, looking at the right environment, looking at the right time, and then pulling him aside and politely talking to him and making it very clear that no one have come to you and complained, but this is your observation. You could be wrong, you could be right. If you are right, he need to stop. When you do this, in fact, doing it in the masjid, after Salat will be the best, or before Salat will be the best thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam.
Like it's all based on our intention as well.
Yes,
If we were to ask in a good manner, because we want to really help the brother, then I
yeah,
think the brother would probably feel that as well.
yeah,
If you're just being nosy and things like that, people can read your mind. The majority of the time, people can know why you're asking questions. I think.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, now let we go to another clip here. Okay.
He said ولا تنسوا الفضل بينكم. So قال الله تعالى لا تنسوا الفضل بينكم. Allah said don't forget the good between you. Don't forget the good between you. As in, and that's a lesson for both husbands and wives. When you go to seek advice, your husband and your wife are not the worst people on earth. By far. They're far from it. And are you telling me there's no good that he's done? Allah said, فَإِن كَرِهْتُمُهُنَّ فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا. If you dislike something in your wife, perhaps there's something good. وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. There's something else good. And Allah is able to place a lot of good. This ayah, actually, I believe is the one ayah my marriage survived because of this. Every time I would have issues ups and downs in my marriage, and I thought I was personally being, I had grievances, I remember this ayah and say, there's other good. Maybe there's one thing I didn't like, but look at all of the khair that she does.
SubhanAllah.
Does that make sense? So, point being is that it's in that context. He said, وَلَا تَنْسَوْا.
Then that was the point that we discussed earlier. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, always looking at the positive things, at the good things, and always remembering the first day I sighted her, and the first day you had intercourse, remembering that good time, and remembering all the good deed, remembering that yes, she is weak in this way, but you too, there are ways where you are weak. So if each one of you start to look at the negative side of each side, the marriage will end up falling apart, no matter how people try to make it work. It is absolutely going to the Quran to not to forget the good things people have had, and also to remember the wasiyah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he said "Istawsu bin nisa'i khaira." He repeated this sentence 3 times. He said, "Take care of your wives, take care of your woman, take care of your woman." So it is just holding on to the Quran and holding on to the Sunnah. And sadly, some cultures is that men always have to have the upper hand. Either they are right or wrong. Still, it have to be their decision, their views. That is wrong. Sometimes mistakenly, when some brother says to me, "But brother, I'm the head of the family," I listen and say, "Have you finished?" They say, "Yes." I said, "Yes, you are the head of the family, but your head sits on something that is the neck, and the neck controls where the head goes. Either it turns right or it turns left, or it remains stable or not. That neck, that is the wife. That neck, that is the wife." And sometimes brothers and or some sisters, they do not want to take, even if they are wrong, they don't want to admit it they are wrong. We have to admit it. When we are wrong, we are wrong. When someone is wrong, we have to cover their mistake. Remember a great scholar whom I cannot remember his name. When he divorced his wife, his followers and his students came to him asking, what happened, Sheikh? She was a good wife. What happened? He, Rahimahullah, said, "I did not expose her when she was my wife. Do you think I'm going to expose her now? She is a stranger to me."
Mm. Mm.
So before we start complaining and putting everything on Facebook, sometimes people secretly record the conversation they're having with their wives. The part they record is the part someone will see and say, oh, she's really bad. How can she do this? How can he stay in this marriage? And they go, they spread that, and that is wrong.
Mm. Jazakallah
Wallah.
khairan, Sheikh. There was a question here about the Islamic marriage counseling in Auckland.
Yeah.
Do we have something like that here in New Zealand, as far as you know, Sheikh?
As far as I know Sheikh Shafi is one of them, and I know he does it, and I know other brothers, but yeah, yes, and I know also Sheikh Hamjad of Al Madina School. He is a marriage counselor, and his wife is too. And yeah, I know those three in Auckland. There may be others whom I don't know. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah khairan. If you are in Auckland, if you need help, we can always contact Shaykh Kabba Bah directly, and then maybe Shaykh Kabba Bah can direct it to the right person, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And one more question, Sheikh. We are coming to an end now.
Yeah.
In if you were to put the top three issues that people came to you and ask you, what do you call it? Their problems. What are the top three problems that you tend to see within the marriage, and a solution to it, or what are the deficiency, or what are what are the main issues that always keep coming up?
The main issues that always keeps coming is that one is lack of knowledge. Sometimes one, for example, the wife is more practicing and the man is less practicing. And sometimes the man is more practicing and the wife is less doing. And then you find one the other one to be to their level without coming and holding their hands and bringing them to their level with humbleness and with teaching. This is one. Secondly, is breakdown of open and honest communication. Lack of open communication and lack of honesty. Thirdly, a super expectation. Sometimes some sisters are expecting high, and sometimes the brothers are expecting high, and it it seems that maybe these two they rushed into this without searching about each other's background and understanding. These are the top three so far.
Wow, wow. Okay. So there's a question about there's a message about some other religion they have marriage classes before the wedding. Maybe we should consider this too. I guess I think for us, this is from my perspective. The best classes for marriage or for anything in life is to actually learn everything about Islam in details. You don't need any, I mean, you need some professional maybe to navigate certain things. But if we have a really good understanding of Islam, we really have a good understanding of the way our Prophet Muhammad SAW lives his
Sallallahu
life,
alaihi wasallam.
then because that is a good example, that is where the knowledge comes from.
Yeah,
Really, that's the main source of knowledge that should be for us as Muslims. To me, other than everything will work fine. Because no one is perfect, and we do know, for example, that Prophet Muhammad SAW has issue with
yeah,
his wife,
yeah,
our mother,
yeah,
Aisha. You know,
yeah.
so it's not gonna be perfect, and always gonna have trials, and always gonna work on this thing, and we have to get this. We have to learn our sources, go back to our authentic sources, the teaching of Islam, the Quran. There's so many things in the Quran. Sometimes, wallahi, when you open the Quran, you think you've read everything. You open one chapter, like, oh, this is so true. This is gonna be, because this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this word is relevant from the time it was sent down until the day of judgment. So we are the one that lost, you know. And like a comment here, sometimes people think that marriage is a fairy tale with unrealistic expectation. Yeah, Sheikh. I mean, this is a problem sometimes. You expect you get married, you're gonna get this big house, and everybody, the husband gonna work hard, you're gonna get this nice car. In the beginning start with what? I don't know, Honda, and then Nissan, and then have to end with a Mercedes or a Bugatti, whatever the car nowadays, right? And there's so much fairy tale. And subhanallah, we need to get back to reality, brothers and sisters. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, there's
absolutely.
those things in the movie, they are fake, and the things that you saw on the social media are fake, brothers and sisters. It's the truth. There's so many people that are so successful on the social media. Sheikh, few months later, a year, few later, you're like, oh, they're breaking up. What's happened? What happened to all this perfect life that they have?
Yeah,
So it's not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is going back to the Quran and going back to the Sunnah and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us success and to save our marriages and to keep us on the right path and
Amen.
to keep us away from Iblis and to keep Iblis away from us is the only way. No way more than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. Jazakallah khairan. I think we are coming to an end now.
Yeah.
So, brothers and sisters, if you just join in, I know if you just join in and listen to us, you can always go back and listen to this. And you can also find this podcast on the Apple Podcast and Google Podcast and also Amazon Podcast. So please do and share with others as well if you find it's beneficial, inshallah. And we'll see you again next week, Sheikh and brothers and sisters. And hopefully we have more Sheikh Hatim with us as well and Brother Muhammad. Okay, brothers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.